Hi everyone, Gareth here. Just to let you know that if you would like to support the production of the Music Room podcast, you can. Just head to musicroompodcast.uk/support or click the link in the show notes. Okay, on with the show. Welcome to the Music Room. This time in the Music Room.
I'm fortunate enough to teach now myself. I do some lecturing and I say the same thing to my students. It's not really so much about the music. I mean, you're expected to be able to write great music, but the thing that they don't teach you is that you need to be able to get along with people and work with different people, and kind of read the room. Those soft skills are ones that you really need.
Hello and welcome to the Music Room, the show where I chat with composers, songwriters and musicians about what they're up to before going back in time to find out how it all began for them. How are you at the moment? Doing okay? Autumn can be a good time creatively to knuckle down after the summer, get some stuff done. I've actually recently been doing a bit of an audit of my social media use, and I've found I just have too many accounts, too much time spent preparing posts for too many accounts. So I had a long, hard look at what I should be posting and where, and this is what I came up with. You can do this too, but this is just what I decided is going to work best for me. So let's go through them. LinkedIn, great for networking with potential hirers and fellow podcast industry people in my case. So that's all I use it for now. The other networks are great for keeping up with peers. Who's peers? Composers, friends, musicians, etc. Instagram. Now, I like Instagram, but there's a Music Room account that doesn't really do much, and I always feel guilty for not spending more time on it. So from now on, all the Music Room content, in fact, all of the content that I produce will go via my personal account at Gareth Sounds. So come and follow me there. Generally, if you're similar composer, musician, songwriter, whatever, I will follow back. Facebook, I have an artist page and of course, the lovely Music Room community group. So I'll be on Facebook as long as the group is. I think Facebook has its drawbacks on the community side, but it's where a lot of my peers are. There's peers again. And so there we go. That remains home for that. And then here's the clever bit. I cross-post, or I've set it up, from my Instagram account to my Facebook page. Boom. I still keep an eye on the comments and messages, of course, but there's about a minute saved right there. They all add up, don't they? X, formerly Twitter. I don't know about you, but I think I'm done. I'm plucking up the courage to pull the plug on the account. But I don't like what it's become, really. And in fact, you could argue it's not the same platform anymore. Crucially, though, if I'm spending time preparing stuff, it would be nice to know that the platform will still be there this time next year. So thanks for the tweets, but I'll be seeing you. Which brings me to Threads, which had a rocky start, but I can say with confidence that so far it's a nicer experience than X. And recently there's been one of those dear algorithm post things that seems to have sorted the feed into who I want to see. So now my feed is full of musos. Perfect. Hello Threaders if you're listening, and welcome to the Music Room podcast. Anyway, that's enough of that. How do you use the social media? Do you limit yourself or do you try to be everywhere? Get in touch via, wherever you use social media, I suppose. My links are in the show notes. In this episode, you're going to hear from composer Christopher Barnett, who's had an extraordinary journey from hearing Ravel's Bolero in primary school to scoring countless feature films, documentaries and more. And if you stick around, Chris will also be leaving an amazing item, gave me goosebumps actually, and a solid piece of advice for anyone trying to navigate becoming and being a composer. But first, music stories. Session cellist and sample library developer Matt Constantine has a brand new and very interesting library out via his company It's All Noise. The release reads, "We're proud to announce our first contact player product, Ultimate Cello Textures Harmonics Pad. This is a prequel and sister library to the larger Ultimate Cello Volume 1 Harmonics, which will be out soon. This textures series of libraries focuses more on sound design, with this specific library being a pad designer using samples of cello harmonics. And here's the good bit: if you're a member of the Music Room group on Facebook, you get an extra 10% off. Link is in the show notes. That's like free money right there. Next, just for fun, I asked the Facebook group their top 3 movies about music. Let's see. Pete said Tar is my favourite. Oh, I've not seen that. Soul, Rocket Man, Bohemian Rhapsody. That's 4 I know. The one I hate most is Whiplash. Ooh. Jonathan says, this is Spinal Tap. Classic. Mr. Holland's Opus, Bohemian Rhapsody. That's a couple for Bohemian Rhapsody, isn't it? David says Barbarian Sound Studio, if sound design counts. The Soloist, The Piano Teacher, all had quite an effect on me. Robin, Almost Famous, Amadeus, oh, great old classic that is. The Piano. Rod says Sing Street, featuring music from Music Room guest Gary Clark. Spinal Tap and Dig. Matt says the only one which really strikes me that hasn't been mentioned yet is The Red Violin. Oh, it's a great film. Daisy says Brastoff. Absolutely brilliant. Tara says lots of those mentioned, but also The Beat My Heart Skipped. I've not heard of that one. Might have to look that up. Alexandra says, one to add, Tick Tick Boom. Started sobbing at the truth of the throwing a ball against the wall line. Again, not seen that one. Claire says, it's very silly, but still crazy is a classic. Quite right too. It is a classic. Herman says Amadeus, and would be hard-pressed to think of 2 more. Come on, Herman, you can think of 2 more. Brolly, Close Encounters. Is that because of the spaceship? Shine. Shine is brilliant, isn't it? Yeah, Blues Brothers, obvious classic. Tom says Brastoff, 8 Mile. 8 Mile's a good one, yeah. The Man Who Knew Too Much. It's not about music, but it has Bernard Herrmann as the on-screen conductor. I'm not sure that qualifies, Tom. But yeah, so many great movies there. What are your favourites? You can get in touch in all the usual places. Christopher Barnett is a versatile and dynamic composer known for his work in cinema and television. His extensive list of credits include feature films A Dose of Happiness and Borrowed Time, and documentaries Breaking Boundaries and Joy Womack, The White Swan, which charts the story of the first American to train and dance with the Bolshoi Ballet. Airedale Records will be releasing an EP of Chris's score for the Joy Womack documentary on Friday the 8th of December this year, and will be available on all streaming platforms. His personal EP, which you'll hear more about shortly, featuring Andy G. Jones, Ashok Clowder, Daisy Cool and Joni A. Fuller, will be released early 2024. Let's get into that there Music Room and catch up with Chris. Here we go. Christopher Barnett, composer, welcome to the Music Room.
Thank you, Gareth. Wonderful to be here.
You're very, very welcome. How are you today?
I'm good. As you say, it's been a bit rainy, bit of flooding here in North London, and I'm just kind of trying to keep a bit of a sore throat away. But otherwise, I'm good, very well.
Yeah, we were having a quick chat about the colds before hitting record. And it's, we're so used to COVID and testing, and it's quite a surprise to have a cold.
I know.
It's,
I feel like Barry White with a low husky voice.
Yeah. So in planning for this chat, Chris, I had a listen to your stuff, of course, and I've seen your progress on social media over the years. I find it a bit difficult to categorise you or pigeonhole you as a soundtrack composer, which personally I think that's a big compliment, because I can't find who you sound like in order to do that. What's your approach when you're first attached to a project? How do you decide sonically what's right for the production?
Thank you. That is a compliment, because I am a bit averse to quote unquote film music. So to answer your question, I try to find a way into the story. Try to just compose from the inside out. Really get to the heart of the characters and who they are, and the story and the environment. And it sometimes when I ask directors questions that they wonder why I go. I try to go quite deep. So I might be asking questions about how did this character grow up? What trauma did they experience? And really try to build a picture so that I can draw on that to kind of speak about them in musical terms. So maybe that's
Mm.
why the music sounds very non-soundtrack like.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess that time spent at the start, if you're putting in the time, you're more likely to be on the same page, aren't you, as the producers and the director,
Exactly. Yeah.
saving time later on.
Yeah, and a lot of the time directors are hearing things that they never would have expected. It's
Yeah,
different from the temp track, the dreaded temp track. But I do try to be as original as I can.
yeah. So it's like
Yeah,
having a braveometer, isn't it? How brave you're going to be? How
exactly,
out there are you going to be? What do you think they're prepared to listen to?
exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so very grateful for the trust that my directors place in me. Because
That's it.
it's a
That's it.
huge
That's
amount
when
of
you know.
trust.
That's know when you know when you're working with people who really care about what they're doing.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, and you have a forthcoming EP. I
Yes.
recently found out. What prompted that, and when can we expect to hear it?
So I'm kind of at the moment awaiting a couple of projects to start. They're in post production and filming. Last year, I lost three people very close to me. My father was one of them, and at the time, I was scoring two pictures at the same time and didn't really have a chance to really grieve, if you like. But still, while I was busy going about my day, doing my job, I noticed certain feelings would come up and all out of the sudden and couldn't really understand them. So I thought, I really want to document these feelings, these emotions. I wouldn't say they were even negative emotions, just weird emotions. So I thought, I'll write this EP. So having the thought and then actually getting started are two different things. But I think we got to August, and I thought, I just got to get started. I went on holiday with my family and had a good think about it. Came back and then just dived in. So it's been a wonderful experience. I really, really enjoyed it. Actually, scoring to picture is such a different way of working. You have visual in front of you, and you have the characters, and this is a bit more introspective. Really having to kind of work out what I want to say and how I'm going to say it. But it's been great.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, instrumentally, style-wise, what are we expecting to hear?
Hmm. Um.
Is it? Is it?
Very
Is
difficult
it?
to.
Let me put it another way. Is it
Yeah.
like a leap away from what your usual approach, or is it, have you leaned into the things that you're most comfortable with? How have you approached that?
It's been a mixture of things. My musical background has been so eclectic, but I would say there's some jazz in there. There is some orchestral delvings in there. There's some almost like 20th century musical ideas in there. But
Yeah.
it's all done with a sense of, dare I say, melancholy,
Yeah.
and heartfelt writing. So
Mm.
I'm working. I've invited four wonderful instrumentalists to be featured on each track, and they're bringing their own gifts and to it. So it's wonderful. You have to just wait till I share it with you all.
Yeah, yeah, it's fantastic, and I'm so sorry
Yeah,
to hear about your dad. And hopefully, there was some catharsis in writing an EP,
absolutely. Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and putting it out there. Are we ready to go back in time? Let's find out how it all began.
Well, yes. I don't come from a musical family, first off. So for me, it's been a bit of a journey. I've always had a love for music, though. My family, my earliest memories are going to parties with my family, listening to reggae music and that kind of stuff. I played the drums for about a year when I was at school. I was at 11. Absolutely love that.
Oh wow, that was your first intro to music
Yeah,
at
first
11.
foray. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But before that, around this, yeah, probably about a couple of, maybe a year or two before that, I have a very strong memory of sitting in school assembly and hearing Ravel's Bolero for the first time.
Right.
And it just knocked me for six. It's like, what is this? because up to that time it was all reggae, and so maybe that has something to do with the drums. I don't know, but I absolutely love the drums, but sadly wasn't able to keep it up because couldn't afford a drum kit. Comes from a very very poor background, and so I had to give that up. And then for several years I began DJing through my teens. So I would organize parties, sell tickets. So I did boat trips,
Wow.
That kind of thing. And I would say through DJing, I kind of found a way to understand what music works and what music doesn't work with an audience, if you like, dancers. And then when I left school, I had to get a job. So I became an engineer, working on power stations and doing drawings and that kind of thing.
An actual engineer, not a sound. I'm not saying sound engineers aren't engineers. Of course they are. But, actually getting your hands dirty.
Yeah, exactly. So I would do, drawings for power stations and stuff like that. But in the evenings, I met a chap called Michael Riley, who was former lead singer of the band Steel Pulse, which is a Birmingham reggae band. And he was producing chart music, top 40 chart music. He ran an outfit called the Reggae Philharmonic Orchestra, and they would provide strings for artists, soul to soul, and these people. So I spent a year shadowing him and learning how to tape op in the studio.
Hang on, back up. How did this happen? You're working as an engineer and suddenly you meet this guy? Was it in a pub? Or
No, it was through a family friend.
Great.
Who was a fashion designer, and she knew everybody. So she knew him and said, Chris has this burning desire to do music. Can you, take him under your wing? And he very kindly said, yeah, just come, keep your mouth shut and tag along. So I would go to work during the day, do my engineering during the day. In the evenings, I would be out with him till 2-3 in the morning, learning how to let in the studio, at the desk, and it was reel-to-reel tapes in those days. But I had a very very good understanding of the studio layout and how to record and produce just by watching what he was doing.
So I spoke about the engineering thing earlier. Yeah. Did that actually help you, being an engineer and then being put in a studio environment? Did that engineering brain of yours kind of make those kind of sonic connections, those audio connections, signals, and this goes there, that connects to that?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's hard to really pin down, how the brain was working at that time. But I really wanted to be a record producer at that time. I was inspired by Quincy Jones and, listening to albums of Michael Jackson and George Benson, and how Bruce Swedien mixed and mastered those tracks is just so great. It's such a great sound, like Galaxy Chocolate type sound,
Nice.
So that was really my kind of thinking and way in, Then the engineering world, that kind of stopped, work dried up, and I thought, well, okay, I'm going to be a poor anything. I must be a poor musician. So I dived into the world of music, learned how to play the piano, practicing 7 to 10 hours a day.
So how old would you have been when you started learning the piano?
By this time, I was early 20s.
Wow.
I was early. I'm really very late starter.
I think there's a little pause button to be hit there because, for people who think, oh, no, it's too late to learn something new. I mean, that's quite something to go, just take yourself from that point in time to where you are now. That's amazing.
Absolutely. And I had a young family as well. So
wow. Okay.
It was a task. It was a daunting task, but it was purely the love of music. I'd no real ambitions to be anything, be this film composer, or didn't even enter my mind at that time. I just wanted to learn music. So I enrolled at Morley College, which is an adult education college in Waterloo. I think Gustav Holst used to teach there in the 40s and 50s. And I just did literally every course in that place. You know, there was sight singing, there was jazz piano, jazz composition, harmony and counterpoint. I did a bit of acting, you know, just all these different courses, jazz theory. And then when I came out, I felt I had a really quite strong grounding in being able to notate and write music. Then I did a degree, 3-year degree at Roehampton Institute in just basic music, but we did a lot of the classical music. We also did world music. So I learned gamelan, steel pans. I spent 3 months in America learning Native American music and spirituality, music of Shona, you know. So it's a wonderful place, wonderful 3 years I had there. And then I came out of there and thought, okay, what do I do now? I know, I'll do a film masters. So I did
Wow.
a year film masters after that, and that helped me to consolidate the previous 6 years of intense study that I'd embarked on. You know,
Did it kind of put it all into context in terms of writing to picture?
absolutely, and working with musicians, because my experience of working with musicians was before that was just to have like I used to run like a quintet, a jazz quintet, and we would, you know, gig around London while I was studying and doing odd jobs and that kind of stuff, which was great, you know, really valuable. But doing the master's course helped me to work with string players and woodwinds and brass and that kind of stuff, and kind of put it all into context. And then once I finished that, it was okay. What do I do now? Okay, let's try and get some work.
Right. So you've done your film masters. You walk through the gates to the big wide world. What are you thinking? I mean, are you thinking at that point, I really want to actually be a film composer because you've put it into context? Or are you thinking, I don't know anybody? Or, I mean, for me personally, when I started, I had no clue. I didn't know quite who to contact or what.
Absolutely.
So how was it for you?
I think, you know, going from engineering into recording engineering and then study, you learn how to be personable and how to kind of get along with people and embrace people and have them embrace you. So I knew it was really a matter of just meeting film people and offering my services. And luckily for me, I managed to get, I think, quite a few short films straight off the bat, and then a feature film in my second year out of college, you know, which was an Albanian feature, comedy as well. So yeah, for the first few films that I scored were comedies, which is, when I look back now, is quite a challenge because it involves different styles of music throughout, you know. So I was kind of bringing in all the training I'd had up to that time in a film, you know.
Yeah.
Great.
Did you find through your training years you had a set of contacts that you kind of dove into, or was it largely just going out and networking?
It was just going out and networking. So I knew nobody, I didn't know anybody in film, you know.
I guess your peers, so other people trying to do the same thing.
Yeah. There was a few of us on the course, and you know, I think only 3 of us are actually working now from, you know, early 2000s.
Wow.
But yeah, literally just get out, you know, kiss babies, shake hands, and meet people. You know,
you heard it here, folks. That's what you have to do.
That's what you have to do.
Yeah,
the presidential campaign.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, and I'm fortunate enough to teach now myself. You know, I do some lecturing, and I say the same thing to my students. It's not really so much about the music. I mean, you're expected to be able to write great music, but the thing that they don't teach you is that you need to be able to get along with people and work with different people, you know, and kind of read the room. Those soft skills are ones that you really need. Really important.
Absolutely right. And that's led you to collaborate people as well. I know you've collaborated in a number of things with Frank Ilfman, who was a guest on the show as well.
Frank is he's a very close friend. He's like a brother to me, really. And yeah, but whenever he's in the studio, I tend to tag along and help with the producing and be an extra set of ears in the studio. He had a documentary called Spear Goes to Hollywood, which he was scoring a few years ago, and he brought myself and his assistant Jean-Luc Pinson on board, and together we scored that. I think it was just prior to the COVID outbreak. It was quite an intense period, but it was great to work with him and learn how he does things, and vice versa. So yeah, wonderful experience.
Yeah, it sounds like
he's a good friend.
It sounds like you've been a sponge for just any kind of knowledge and experience. Just
and I'm still learning. I'm still learning, and still have been that sponge.
Absolutely.
It's good to just kind of keep your ears open and keep yourself open to that. I think
we're veering into bits of advice here, aren't we? So why don't we get into that? I do ask all of my guests to leave an item and a piece of advice in the music room for others to find. I didn't even ask. Have you prepared an item and a piece of advice?
I have a couple of items. This is a bit like Desert Island.
It is a bit, isn't it? Yeah.
Can it be paper with some words on it, or does it have to be an actual thing?
Well, paper with words on it is a thing, isn't it?
Okay. So when I decided to embark on this journey, I had lots of trepidation, coming from my background where we didn't know how to even get started in the music business because I didn't know anybody. I didn't even know if I could or was allowed to, So I came across this quote by Goethe. Let's see if I can find it. And it really inspired me. And it goes, he says, "Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves him. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which no man could have dreamed would have come his way. So whatever you can do or dream, you can begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now." And I always go back to this quote whenever I'm, trying to figure out whether I can actually do something, or maybe I'm a bit tentative or shy or afraid. Fear is huge. And I know there are lots of people who feel that what we do is not for them because they don't have the years of musical training or these sorts of things. So just find that quote and just keep it pegged up on your wall. So what I'm handing over is a piece of paper.
Yeah.
With this quote, pin it to your wall and just keep reading it over and over again.
That's brilliant. I had goosebumps then, because this is it. And other guests have said similar things about get started. It's all very well sitting in your head, but
absolutely,
until you get going and get that idea out,
absolutely, yeah.
It's easy to hide behind as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
I've got this great idea. Well,
yeah.
It's not a thing until you've actually made it.
Getting started is tough. It's hard.
Yeah, and getting over that fear of failure, like you say, that ties in as well. That's great. That's going in the music room then. Does your advice tie in with that, or do you have a separate piece of advice?
A separate piece of advice would be to have a very open mind to music, to explore. One of the challenges I had when I started my degree was we did like a year of learning 20th century music. So, Webern and Berg and, Schoenberg and all that stuff. And at the time, I really hated it. It was excruciing hearing all these screeches and,
It's taken to extremes, isn't it?
Yeah. At one point, one task, look at the wall and score the wallpaper. It's like, come on. I'm going to swear then. So my love at the time was jazz. I was heavily into jazz, but when I look back now, I'm so grateful for that time because it's really opened me up to really being able to write almost anything, and having the courage to explore different things. So that will be my thing, just try to be open to anything that comes your way. Don't block it because you say it's not my thing. Just explore it and then see where the road takes you. I never expected to be a film composer, and yet here I am. So
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. Well, that I think is a very good place to round things up. Christopher Barnett, thank you so much for joining me in the Music Room.
Thank you, Gareth, and what you do is wonderful. So yeah, keep going.
Thank you. Will do. Thanks for listening to the Music Room podcast today. If you'd like to know more about the show or the community that surrounds it, head to musicroom.community. The link is in the show notes.